Rowan Aster was ordered to polish the stone that had condemned her father. Not with cloth, not with water, with her bare hands. The Velmorn law circle stood beneath an open winter sky, ringed by black pine, silver banners, and the carved wolf statues of dead kings. At its center waited the old wolf law stone, a slab of dark mountain rock veined with pale silver, older than the throne, older than any living mouth that claimed to speak justice. Across its surface, one name had been cut deep enough that no storm had worn it away. Corvin Aster, traitor. Rowan knelt before it while the wolf court watched. She wore servant grey, not mourning black. Mourning had been forbidden to her family after the execution. She had not been allowed to light a death candle for him. Not one flame, not one prayer, not one public tear. A traitor's child owned no clean grief in Velmorn law. General Cairn Holt stood near the stone with one gloved hand resting on the hilt of his ceremonial blade. He looked noble from a distance. Iron-grey hair, white wolf mantle, a soldier's straight back, a voice that always sounded as if cruelty had been weighed, approved, and filed under duty. "Begin," he said. Rowan placed her hands on the cold stone. A murmur moved through the nobles. "She should thank the court," a woman whispered. The old law could have taken her hands. Rowan did not look up. That was how the court preferred her. Useful, silent, bent over the word that had ruined her life. General Cairn stepped closer. "Speak the oath." Rowan's fingers tightened against the carved letters. Wolf King Rhevan Velmorn watched from the high judgment seat at the edge of the circle. He wore black fur over dark armor, a silver crown shaped like wolf teeth resting against his brow. His face was controlled, severe, handsome, in a way that made mercy seem possible from far away. That was the cruelest part. Rowan had once believed a king with eyes like his might question a lie if it hurt long enough in front of him. She knew better now. Rhevan had been young when her father died, but he had worn the crown. He had heard Cairn's war testimony. He had signed the punishment order that kept Rowan serving the same court that spat on her name. He had not swung the blade, but his seal had made the blade lawful. "Rowan Aster," Cairn said louder now. "Speak the oath before your king." The court sharpened. Rowan lifted her chin. "Which oath, General?" Cairn smiled faintly. "The only one your house is still permitted." Her mouth tasted like snow and iron. She spoke because refusing would only give them another word to carve. "I serve the court my father betrayed." The sentence moved across the circle like a satisfied animal. Rhevan's jaw tightened. "Not enough. Never enough." Cairn nodded toward the stone. "Again." Rowan looked at the carved name beneath her palms. Her father had taught her to sharpen quills when she was 8. He had smelled of cedar smoke and horse leather. He had carried her across floodwater when she was 12 and said, "Aster blood bends, little wolf. It does not kneel to a lie." The court had made him kneel anyway. "No," Rowan said. The word was not loud. It still broke the mourning. Nobles shifted. Guards moved hands toward spears. Cairn's eyes cooled with satisfaction, as if he had been waiting for her dignity to become useful evidence. Rhevan leaned forward slightly. "Rowan." Her name in his voice struck harder than she wanted it to. Not soft. Warning. She looked at him. "Your Majesty? This is not the day to challenge old law." Rowan almost laughed. "Almost. Instead," she said, "you signed the order that made everyday old law for me." The silence after that was not empty. It was full of people deciding whether a king could bleed from words. Rhevan did not look away. That made it worse. Because he heard her. Because perhaps he had always been capable of hearing her. Because he had still let the law speak louder. Cairn turned toward the king with practiced regret. "You see why inherited punishment remains necessary. Treason breeds defiance before remorse." Rowan's hands pressed harder against the stone. "My father did not betray you." The circle went still. Rhevan's eyes sharpened. Cairn's voice lowered. "Careful." Rowan looked at him. "Why? Will the dead object?" A few nobles gasped. Cairn stepped close enough for only her and the king to hear the edge beneath his calm. The dead are safer when their daughters know when to stop speaking. For one breath, Rowan felt the old fear. The fear of being 7 again and hearing doors close after her father's name. The fear of servant halls going quiet when she entered. The fear of growing into a woman no one had to strike because the law had already taught her where to kneel. Then she looked down at her father's name, not the court's word. His name, Corvin Aster, she said clearly. The old wolf law stone bled. Silver welled up from the carved letters, bright against the black rock, too clean to be water, too luminous to be ordinary blood. It slid between Rowan's fingers and ran down the stone in thin, shining lines. The stone did not bleed like a wound. It bled like testimony returning to the record. The court recoiled. Cairn's thumb stopped against the hilt of his ceremonial blade, only for half a breath. But Rowan saw it. So did Rhevan. The Wolf King stood. No one moved after that. The silver bleeding did not stop. It gathered beneath Rowan's palms, warm now, pulsing like a living oath that had slept too long under a lie. Raven's voice cut through the circle. Step away from the stone. Rowan did not. For years, the court had made her touch her father's shame. Now the shame was touching back. Cairn recovered smoothly. Your Majesty, remove her. Bloodline defiance can corrupt old law into false witness. Rowan looked up at Rhevan. You trusted his voice when it condemned my father. Will you fear the stone now because it answers mine? The words struck him in public. Good. Let the court hear the wound it had trained her to swallow. Rhevan's gaze moved from Rowan's face to the silver blood on the stone, then to Cairn. For the first time in years, the Wolf King looked at his general as if a question had entered the circle before permission. The old wolf law stone pulsed beneath Rowan's hands. Silver ran into the carved word traitor. The letters filled, cracked. Then the stone began to bleed a second line beneath her father's name. Not traitor, witness. The new word did not clear Corvin Aster's name. It made the old verdict afraid. Silver witness blood continued to run through the carved letters on the old wolf law stone, filling the place where traitor had cracked and leaving witness alive beneath it. Around the Velmorn law circle, nobles stood frozen beneath the winter sky, their silver banners snapping in the cold wind like nervous hands. Rowan Aster kept both palms on the stone. No one ordered her to polish now. No one laughed. That was almost worse. Wolf King Rhevan Velmorn descended one step from the judgment seat, his eyes fixed on the bleeding stone. No one touches her. General Carnholt turned at once. Your Majesty, that is unwise. Rhevan did not look at him. I did not ask for counsel. Cairn bowed his head, but not enough to look defeated. Old law can be stirred falsely by bloodline defiance. Her father died with treason on his name. His daughter speaks that name in anger, and the stone answers with blood. That is not innocence. That is contamination. The court breathed again. Fear liked explanations, especially when they protected the people already in power. Rowan looked at Cairn. When the stone obeyed your verdict, you called it law. Now that it questions you, you call it corrupted. Cairn's expression stayed controlled. A guilty bloodline often mistakes disturbance for justice. Rhevan's jaw tightened. Enough. Rowan turned her head toward him. You said that when I spoke too. The line struck him. Good. Let him feel how easily command sounded like silence from where she knelt. Rhevan looked down at her hands, still slick with silver from the stone. Step back, Rowan. No. The court shifted. Cairn's eyes sharpened with satisfaction. Defiance before the king. Rowan did not move. I spent years stepping back from my father's name. The stone has not finished speaking. Rhevan's voice lowered. If the old law opens further, it may bind you to the record. It already bound me, she said. It did that the day your seal made my grief illegal. Her silence fell hard enough to make the guards look away. Rhevan accepted it without answering. That did not forgive him. It only kept him from hiding. He turned toward the court scribes. Bring the original war testimony from Corvin Aster's trial. Cairn went still, only for a breath. Then his calm returned. Your Majesty, reopening a treason record before full counsel is irregular. So was a law stone, bleeding under the daughter's hands. The court will see doubt as weakness. Rhevan looked at the cracked word on the stone, then let them see where doubt should have begun. The words moved through the circle, like a dangerous wind. Rowan watched him. A costly order, public, useful, late. She did not thank him. Do not mistake reading late for standing with me, she said. Rhevan's face tightened, but he did not defend himself. Good. One of the old scribes approached with a narrow black record case sealed in wolf wax. His fingers shook as he placed it beside the stone. Cairn stepped forward. The record is already settled. Corvin Aster was condemned after sworn testimony by battle command. The old wolf law stone pulsed. Silver ran from the word witness toward the record case. The wax seal split on its own. The scribe stumbled back. Rhevan's eyes hardened. "Read it." The scribe opened the case. Treason record of Corvin Aster. Charge: betrayal of royal movement during the northern ambush. Evidence entered. Spoken testimony of General Cairn Holt. The circle went utterly still. Not battle record. Not carved proof. Spoken testimony. Rowan felt the cold all the way into her bones. She remembered her father teaching her never to sign a page she had not read. Now the court was afraid to read the page that had killed him. She looked at Cairn. "You were the blade before the blade." Cairn turned to the court before the sentence could settle too deeply. A sworn general's testimony is lawful evidence. Corvin Aster withheld troop movement from the king's guard. A witness can still be guilty if he hides truth until men die. Rhevan's gaze cut to him. That was not in the public execution record. It was sealed to prevent panic inside the royal guard. By whom? Cairn held his eyes. By command necessity. Rowan laughed softly. There was no humor in it. Command necessity, she said. The phrase men use when truth would embarrass someone with a title. A few nobles looked down. Cairn's voice softened with perfect public pity. "You loved your father. That does not make him innocent." Rowan's fingers pressed into the stone. "No," she said, "but your need to keep me bent over his shame does not make him guilty." The old wolf law stone warmed beneath her palms. Silver witness blood rose between her fingers and formed a thin line toward the open testimony record. Rhevan saw it. "Read the sealed addendum." The scribe hesitated. "Your Majesty, only the king and war general may authorize." "I authorize it." Khan's voice sharpened. "If you open sealed war testimony here, every noble house will demand the right to challenge old convictions." Rhevan looked at Rowan, then back at the court. Then perhaps old convictions should survive being read aloud. The nobles erupted in whispers. That order cost him more than anger. It cost the court certainty. Rowan felt the weight of it, but she did not soften. A king did not deserve gratitude for opening the door after years of keeping her outside it. Rhevan looked at her as if he knew. "Good." The scribe unfolded the sealed addendum. Before he could speak, the old wolf law stone bled brighter. Words surfaced across the black rock, slow and silver. Condemned by voice, not by battle record. Khan lifted his chin. Voice can be lawful. The stone answered with another line. Voice altered record. Rhevan stepped closer. Whose voice? Khan moved one hand toward the record case. A name spoken before death is not proof of guilt. Men call commanders in panic. Majesty. Rowan looked at him. Then why are you reaching for the part he died trying to finish? His hand stilled. The silver line beneath witness widened. Then the stone wrote the first word Corvin had tried to speak before the blade fell. Cairn. The name did not end the trial. It reopened the throat that had been cut from it. Cairn. The word bled silver across the old wolf law stone, thin at first, then brighter, as if the stone had waited 9 years to say it without a blade interrupting. The Velmorn law circle held still. Not because the court believed Rowan Aster, because every noble there understood the danger of a dead man naming a living general. General Cairn Holt did not step back. That was why people feared him. A weaker man would have shouted. A guilty fool would have denied too fast. Cairn only turned toward Wolf King Rhevan Velmorn with the grave patience of a commander correcting a young soldier. A dying man may call for his superior, he said. A name spoken before execution is not accusation. Men call commanders in panic, Majesty. Rowan's hands remained on the stone. Silver witness blood warmed her palms. My father did not panic, she said. He asked to finish speaking. Cairn looked at her with public pity. You were a child behind a closed gate. You heard grief, not law. I heard the gate close before his sentence was finished. The sentence landed harder than she expected. Rhevan's gaze moved to her. What else did you hear? Rowan looked at him then. For one breath, she saw not the crown, not the wolf fur, not the man who had signed her family into punishment, but the king who had been close enough to hear her father's last words and still let silence become record. It did not soften her. It sharpened the wound. "You want my memory now?" she asked. "After years of making me polish the word you let them carve?" Rhevan did not defend himself. "Open the execution transcript," he ordered. Khan's eyes cooled. "Your Majesty, that transcript was sealed for stability after the northern ambush. Then stability has had 9 years to enjoy itself." A murmur moved through the court. Rowan felt it. Not support. Interest. Courts loved truth only after it became dangerous enough to entertain them. She turned back to the stone. "Do not turn this into your redemption scene, Majesty. My father still has to fight for a sentence. You should have let him finish." Rhevan's jaw tightened. "Yes," he said. "He does." The answer was quiet. Not enough. But it did not steal the room from her. An old scribe approached with a second record case, smaller than the first, wrapped in black leather, and sealed with 3 layers of wolf wax. His hand shook so badly that the case almost slipped. Khan extended one gloved hand. "I will assist." The old wolf lawstone bled sharply. A silver line snapped across the ground between cairn and the case. The scribe froze. Rowan looked at the line, the stone objects. Khan smiled faintly. Stone has no legal preference. The lawstone pulsed. Across its surface, beneath Cairn's name, new words formed. Hand kept from record. The court drew back. Rhevan stepped down fully from the judgment seat. "Scribe, read without aid." The scribe broke the first seal. Then the second. The third resisted. Khan said softly, "Careful. Execution transcripts often preserve mercy that grieving children mistake for cruelty." Rowan turned toward him. "Mercy does not need 3 seals." The third seal split. The transcript opened. The scribe read, voice thin in the winter air. "Final statement of Corvin Aster, condemned for treason under sworn war testimony. Witnesses present: Wolf King Rhevan Velmorn, General Cairn Holt, execution guard, court scribe." Rowan felt the stones shift beneath her hands. Rhevan's face went still. He had been there. That did not mean he had understood. It meant he had failed to ask why he did not. Rowan did not look at him. She could not afford to. The scribe continued. "Condemned was asked if he had final words." Corvin Aster replied, "Cairn." The words stopped. Not because the scribe chose silence. Because the ink ended. The transcript line had been scraped away. A ragged blank scar crossed the page where her father's voice should have continued. Rowan's breath left her. 9 years. 9 years of polishing a stone while the court kept even his last sentence unfinished. Rhevan's voice lowered. "Why is the line missing?" Khan answered before the scribe could tremble. "Execution records are often shortened. Dying words are emotional, unreliable, and inflammatory." Rowan turned slowly. "Then why keep the first word?" Khan's face remained composed. "Because it was harmless." The old wolf lawstone gave a low sound. Not a crack. A growl. The carved wolf statues around the circle seemed to lean inward, their stone eyes catching silver light. Rowan pressed harder into the stone. Who stopped him? No one answered. She looked from the scribe to the guards to the nobles who had watched her kneel for years. "I heard the court choose silence before it chose truth," she said. "Now tell me who stopped my father from finishing." Rhevan's voice came rough. "Read the guard note." Khan turned sharply. "That note is not admissible." Rhevan looked at him. "You knew there was one." The circle went quiet. Khan's thumb rested against his blade again. Only rested. But Rowan saw it. The scribe unfolded a narrow strip tucked beneath the transcript. His voice shook. "Guard note. Condemned. Attempted to clarify prior warning. Statement interrupted due to disorder at the block." "Disorder?" Rowan asked. The stone answered before anyone else could. "Command altered." Rhevan stepped closer. "What command?" Silver witness blood spread over the transcript and filled part of the scraped blank line. One word surfaced. Not the whole truth. Only the next buried door. "Oat." Cairn's expression did not break, but the court felt him tighten. Rowan looked at Rhevan. "My father tried to name a root." The lawstone bled beneath her palms. More letters formed slowly, as if dragging themselves out from under 9 years of silence. Royal wolf blood moved by hidden root. Rhevan went pale. Not with fear for the court. With recognition. Khan spoke at once. "A commander may alter a royal root under war authority. Changed does not mean betrayed. Rowan looked at the silver line, then at the king whose secret had suddenly entered her father's death. No, she said, but killing the man who warned you makes the change worth reading. The stone pulsed once. Then the scraped transcript filled with Corvin Aster's lost words. Khan changed the royal root. The old words did not make the court believe Rowan Aster. They made the court afraid of what belief would cost. Silver Gwandrid blood glowed across the scraped execution transcript, filling the line her father had never been allowed to finish. Around the Velmorn law circle, nobles stared as if the winter ground had opened beneath their polished boots. General Cairn Holt faced the bleeding stone without bending. A changed royal root is not treason, he said. Under wartime authority, a commander may alter any movement that protects the crown. Rowan kept her hands on the old wolf law stone. Then why did my father die for saying you changed it? Khan turned toward the court before her question could settle. Because Corvin Aster did not merely name a root, he endangered it. Revealing a hidden movement during war would have placed royal wolf blood at risk. Amir Rose. Royal wolf blood. The phrase had power in Velmorn. It turned truth into danger. It made silence sound protective. It reminded every noble that some secrets were considered too sacred for ordinary grief. Wolf King Rhevan Velmorn stood below the judgment seat, his face pale beneath the silver crown. Bring the original war map. Khan's eyes sharpened. Your Majesty, the Northern Ambush map is sealed under Blood security law. Then open it under Blood security authority. That law protects you. Rhevan's voice lowered. It protected the wrong thing. The court went quiet. Rowan looked at him. She saw the guilt in his face, the recognition that her father's last words had carried a secret tied to his own blood. She saw the pain there. She did not soften. Do not stand there looking wounded by a truth you helped bury, she said. My father was the one who died under it. Rhevan accepted the line without flinching. Good. Let him learn that accountability did not deserve comfort. An old war scribe hurried forward with a flat iron case marked by 3 wolf seals. He knelt near the stone and laid the case before Rhevan, but his hands shook too hard to open it. Khan stepped closer. I will verify the seals. The old wolf law stone gave a low growl. Silver spread across the ground between Cairn and the iron case. Rowan looked at the shining line. The old law does not want your hands near another record. Cairn's expression remained calm. The old law is responding to Aster blood. That is precisely why we must proceed carefully. Rhevan looked at the scribe. Open it. The first seal broke. Then the second. When the third seal cracked, cold wind swept through the law circle, bending every silver banner toward the stone. The war map unfolded across the black rock. Not parchment. Memory hide. Dark, thin, and marked with pale lines that shifted under the witness blood. Rhevan stepped closer. Show the northern ambush route. A silver path lit across the map. Cairn pointed to it at once. The public royal route. Corvin Aster had knowledge of it. That alone made his warning suspicious. Rowan studied the glowing path. Public to whom? Khan turned his head. To command officers. Then not public. Do not play with military words you do not understand. Rowan's fingers pressed into the stone. I understand words well enough to know they killed my father. The old wolf law stone pulsed. A second line appeared beneath the first. Fainter, hidden under the map's dark surface, until the silver blood pulled it awake. The court leaned in despite itself. Rhevan's breath changed. What is that? The stone answered in slow silver letters. Hid a bloodroot. A shock moved through the nobles. Khan's jaw tightened once, then released. A decoy layer. Royal maps often hold false paths to expose spies. Rowan looked at him. Then why is the stone bleeding for it? Khan's voice sharpened only slightly. Because grief, blood, seeks meaning, not accuracy. The law stone warmed beneath her palms, almost like a hand pressing back. Another line surfaced. Corvin Aster witnessed bloodroot alteration. The wind died. No one spoke. Rowan felt the words enter her like cold flame. Her father had not guessed. He had not panicked. He had seen. Rhevan's voice came rough. When? The stone bled across the map. Before ambush. Khan lifted his chin. A changed route before ambush proves nothing. Routes change because threats change. Who ordered it? Rhevan asked. Khan's eyes held his. War Command did. That is not a name. No, Cairn said. It is a system you trusted because it kept you alive. The words struck Raven harder than insult. Rowan saw it. Cairn had not only defended himself, he had reminded the king that his survival sat inside the same record, now accusing a dead man. Cairn turned toward the court again. This is exactly why Corvin Aster's final statement was sealed. He confused a lawful blood root adjustment with betrayal. Had we let him speak freely at the block, he would have exposed royal movement to every uncertain ear in the circle. Rowan's voice came quiet. He was already dying. Dying men can still destroy kingdoms. My father was trying to warn one. The old Wolf Lawstone answered. Warning received. Rhevan went still. Rowan's heart struck once, hard. Received by whom? She asked. The war map darkened. Silver witness blood moved toward the hidden route, then down to a small command mark beneath it. The mark had been carved over, sealed beneath wolf wax and war ink. Cairn said, A received warning does not mean the warning was true. Rhevan stared at the command mark. Read the seal. The scribe's voice trembled. Sealed war authority. Whose? The scribe swallowed. Cairn's hand rested near his blade, not drawing, only reminding the circle that he was still a general. The old Wolf Lawstone did not wait for permission. Silver blood cut through the wax. Words rose from the map, clear enough for every noble to read. Royal blood moved by Cairn Holt, under sealed war authority. The law circle did not erupt. It tightened. That was worse. Royal blood moved by Cairn Holt, under sealed war authority. The words burned across the memory-hide map in silver witness blood, bright enough for every noble to read, dangerous enough for every noble to pretend they had not. General Cairn Holt stood beside the old Wolf Lawstone, with his hand near his blade, and his face perfectly calm. A sealed war authority is not a crime, he said. It is the mechanism by which royal blood survives when battle turns. Rowan Aster kept both palms against the stone. Then why was my father killed for naming it? Cairn looked at her with controlled patience. Because your father named what he was not sworn to know. The sentence slid through the court like cold oil. Rhevan Velmorn's eyes sharpened. Corvin Aster was a field lawkeeper. He was sworn to report route irregularities. He was sworn to report them through proper command, Cairn replied. Not shout fragments at execution and risk exposing blood security measures. Rowan laughed once. Soft. Empty. My father was standing before the blade your testimony put him under. What proper command remained? No one answered. The winter wind moved over the silver banners. Rhevan looked at the war map, then at Cairn. Opened the sealed authority log. Cairn's expression did not change, but the court felt him resist. That log carries royal blood protections. I know what it carries. With respect, Majesty, opening it in full court would expose vulnerabilities of the Velmorn line. Rhevan's voice lowered. A man died under the protection of my line. I will know what it protected. A murmur broke through the nobles. That was not a small order. Royal blood protections were the kind of records kings hid behind even from their own families. To open one before the law circle was to admit the throne itself might have been defended by a lie. Rowan watched him. A costly step. Late. Still not enough. Rhevan turned to the court scribe. Bring the blood security log. Cairn stepped forward. Your Majesty, I advise restraint. Rhevan faced him. You have advised me for 9 years. The words landed hard. Cairn went still, only for a breath. Rhevan continued, colder now. And for 9 years, Rowan Aster polished a verdict your testimony made possible. Rowan felt the court turn toward her. She hated it, not because they saw her, because they were only beginning to see after the stone forced their eyes open. She looked at Rhevan. Do not make my father's unfinished sentence into proof that you are brave now. His jaw tightened. I will not, he said. Then do not look at me when you open the record. Look at what you signed. He accepted that. Good. The blood security log arrived, wrapped in white wolf hide and sealed with black wax. The old scribe placed it on the edge of the lawstone and stepped back as if it might bite. The old wolf lawstone pulsed. Silver ran from Rowan's hands to the wax. The seal cracked. Cairn's voice sharpened. The daughter of a condemned man should not be allowed to open royal blood records. Rowan turned to him. My father was allowed to die for them. The stone warmed beneath her palms. The log opened. Inside, The pages were dark red, thin as dried leaves, each one marked with roots, moons, and command seals. The scribe swallowed, before reading. Blood security movement, northern ambush night, public route declared through Thorn Pass, hidden blood route altered to Grafen Hollow under sealed war authority. Rhevan went very still. Rowan heard the change in his breathing. Grafen Hollow? The name meant something to him. Good, Rowan thought. Let the dead place come back. Cairn answered before the scribe could. Grafen Hollow was safer, after scouts reported movement near Thorn Pass. The old wolf lawstone bled harder. Words appeared across the map. Scout report altered. The court recoiled. Cairn's eyes narrowed. Scout reports change constantly during war. Old law cannot understand battlefield chaos. Rowan looked at him. Convenient. How every truth against you becomes too complicated for law. A few nobles looked down. Rhevan turned a page himself. Cairn's voice cut sharper. Majesty. Rhevan did not stop. He read the next line aloud. Warning received from Corvin Aster before route execution. The law circle went silent. Rowan's hands trembled once against the stone. Only once. Her father had warned them before the route moved. Before the ambush. Before the blade. Rhevan looked as if the page had opened under his ribs. Who received the warning? The scribe leaned closer, face pale. The receiving mark is damaged. Khan exhaled, almost sadly. Then we have no lawful recipient. A warning without recipient cannot overturn a treason verdict. Rowan looked at him. You would bury a man under a missing mark? Cairn's voice softened. Your father may have warned someone. He may also have warned too late. Grief fills gaps with hope. The old cruelty in that almost made Rowan let go of the stone. Almost. Then silver witness blood climbed between her fingers. The stone answered. Warning received before route change. Rhevan's face hardened. Then the treason record lied. Khan looked straight at him. Or the old stone is confusing sequence under bloodline interference. Rhevan closed the log with one hand. No. The word rang through the circle. Khan froze. Rhevan turned to the court. Until this record is read in full, General Khan Holt is removed from command over all war testimony. The nobles burst into alarm. Khan's voice went cold. You would strip your general before proving treason? I am not proving treason, Rhevan said. I am removing the man who keeps reaching for the record before anyone else can read it. Rowan felt the power shift. Not victory, pressure. Khan bowed his head. Then let the court record the king has weakened his war command for the daughter of a traitor. Rowan's voice cut through the circle. No. Record that he weakened it for a warning your hand helped bury. The old wolf lawstone pulsed beneath her. The blood security log reopened by itself. A hidden page unfolded from the spine, silver lines crawling across it. Rhevan stepped closer. Read it. The scribe's voice broke. Corvin Aster did not expose the royal blood root. Rowan stopped breathing. The stone finished the line in silver. He sealed it after warning them. The hidden page did not shake in the wind. That made it feel less like a discovery, and more like something that had been waiting patiently for cowards to run out of excuses. He sealed it after warning them. Silver witness blood glowed across the blood security log, each word bright against the dark red page. Rowan Aster stared until the letters blurred. Her father had not exposed the royal root. He had sealed it. After warning them, the Velmorn law circle stood silent beneath the winter sky, but the silence no longer belonged to the court. It belonged to Corvin Aster, whose unfinished sentence had begun speaking louder than every noble who had watched his daughter kneel. Wolf King Rhevan Velmorn looked at the record as if it had reached into his chest and found a door he had not known was locked. General Khan Holt recovered first. A seal does not absolve treason, he said. A man may seal a route after compromising it, hoping to hide the damage he caused. Rowan turned her head toward him. You keep putting guilt after every proof, because it is the only way your story survives. Cairn's expression remained grave. And you keep calling fragments truth, because grief needs a father to remain clean. The words cut. Not because she believed him, because the court might want to. Rhevan's voice came low. Read what he sealed. The scribe swallowed. Your Majesty, the next portion is marked Royal Blood Specific. Read it. Khan stepped forward. Majesty, some bloodline protections exist because old enemies still live. Rhevan did not look away from the page. And some protections exist, because dead men were made to carry living secrets. The old wolf lore stone pulsed beneath Rowan's palms. For one breath, she almost looked at him. Almost. Then she remembered 9 years of servant grey. 9 years without a death candle. 9 years of polishing traitor into her father's name, while the man now speaking for truth sat above her in a judgment seat. She did not look. The scribe read, "Hidden bloodroot carried unregistered royal wolf, blood from the northern shrine to Velmorn protection custody." The nobles shifted. Unregistered royal wolf blood. That phrase had teeth. It meant a child, an heir, a hidden branch, or a threat to succession. It meant the old laws had been moving someone too dangerous to name. Rhevan's face went pale. Rowan finally looked at him. Recognition had entered his eyes before shock could cover it. She felt the truth before the stone finished bleeding. "It was you," she said. The circle froze. Rhevan did not answer fast enough. That was answer enough. Khan's voice cut in. "Careful, Rowan Aster. You stand inside old law, not village gossip." Rowan did not take her eyes off Rhevan. Royal wolf, blood moved by hidden root. The king recognizes the record. So tell me, Majesty, was my father killed for betraying a root, or for knowing it carried you? Rhevan's jaw worked once. No command came. No kingly sentence. Only the face of a man being forced to stand inside the truth a woman had suffered for. "Yes," he said at last. The word landed heavily. The court breathed in. Rhevan looked at the nobles, then back to Rowan. "The hidden bloodroot was mine." A tremor moved through the law circle. Khan bowed his head, as if burdened by duty. "Your Majesty was a minor blood claimant then. The root carried you from the northern shrine after rival houses began hunting Velmorn heirs. General Command had authority to alter that path." Rowan laughed softly. It sounded almost strange in the cold. "You make it sound so clean." Khan's eyes cooled. "It was war." "No," Rowan said. "War is what you call the room after innocent people have been made too tired to object." The old wolf lore stone warmed beneath her hands. Silver ran across the hidden page again. Corvin Aster received altered root after change. Rhevan turned sharply to Khan. He was told after. Khan's voice remained controlled. "Field law. Keepers were not entitled to full blood root knowledge." Rowan looked at him. "But entitled enough to die for it?" The stone answered before Khan could. Corvin Aster warned root led toward ambush ground. The court erupted into whispers. Rhevan stepped closer to the map. He warned them the route was dangerous. Khan's tone hardened. "Many warned many things during the northern ambush. Fear makes every hill look like a grave." Rowan's hands pressed into the stone. "My father was not afraid of hills. He was afraid of the man changing the road." Khan turned toward Rhevan. "Your Majesty, this is why grief, blood, cannot be allowed to interpret strategic memory. It stitches suspicion to coincidence." The old wolf lore stone gave a low growl. The carved wolf statues around the circle seemed to lean inward. New words bled across the log. Warning verified. Root remained changed. Rhevan closed his eyes. Only once. When he opened them, he did not look like a king trying to remain majestic. He looked like a man standing over the grave of someone who had died in his place. Rowan saw it. She hated that she saw it. "Do not look mournful now," she said. "My family was forbidden mourning when grief still had a body to hold." Rhevan looked at her then. "I know." "No," she said. "You are beginning to know. That is different." He accepted it. The court did not know what to do with a king who accepted being cut. Khan saw the danger and moved quickly. Even if Corvin warned correctly, withholding royal blood knowledge during war remains a punishable breach. A loyal man reports through chain of command. He does not create confusion at execution. Rowan's voice lowered. He tried to report. "You cut the sentence from the page." The law stone pulsed. The hidden page turned by itself. Beneath the root record, one final entry waited beneath old wolf wax. Rhevan leaned closer. Read it. The scribe's voice cracked. Corvin Aster sealed the hidden root with personal witness. Oath after warning was ignored. Silver witness blood filled the last line. Oath purpose. Protect Rhevan Velmorn's royal wolf. Blood from public exposure. Rowan went very still. The world narrowed to her hands on the stone. Her father had protected the king who had let him be called traitor, the king who had signed her punishment. Rowan lifted her eyes to Rhevan. "So my father died with your name protected," she said, "while I lived with his name shamed." Rhevan's face changed. No apology could fit inside that silence. Good. The old wolf lawstone bled one more line. Corvin Aster did not betray the king. He saved him. The silence after the lawstone spoke was not grief. It was calculation. Rowan Aster felt it move through the Velmorn law circle before any noble dared breathe too loudly. Her father's innocence had entered the court, but not as comfort, as danger, as a truth large enough to threaten every title that had rested on his shame. Wolf King Rhevan Velmorn stood below the judgment seat, staring at the silver words as if they had cut through the crown before reaching his skin. General Khan Holt recovered first. Of course he did. Corvin Aster may have protected royal blood after creating the danger himself, Cairn said. A man can save what he first endangers. Rowan turned toward him slowly. You would make him guilty for surviving long enough to help. I would keep the court from mistaking sacrifice for innocence. The stone already named him. The stone named one act, Cairn said. Not a life. Rhevan's voice cut coldly across the circle. Enough. Rowan looked at him. That word again. Enough when she spoke. Enough when Cairn lied. Enough when the room became uncomfortable. She pulled her hands from the old wolf lawstone. Silver witness blood clung to her fingers like moonlit ink. The stone gave a low pulse, almost protest. Rhevan stepped forward. Rowan. She held up one hand. He stopped. Good. At least he had learned that much. Do not use my father's innocence to make me stand here as your proof, she said. His face tightened. That is not what I am doing. Not yet, she answered. But courts are quick to turn a wounded woman into a useful record. A few nobles looked away. Cairn seized the moment. If she leaves before the old law completes its reading, the treason verdict remains unresolved. Rowan looked at him. You mean if I stop bleeding for your convenience, my father stays useful to you? Cairn's eyes cooled. I mean, law requires completion. Law required my hands on his shame for 9 years. The words struck the circle harder than a shout. Rhevan looked at the servant grey she wore, the colour Velmorn law had forced on her, because mourning had been forbidden. His gaze caught on the place where her sleeves were stained silver from the stone. His throat moved. No apology came. Good. No apology could stand inside that much damage and not look small. He turned to the court. No punishment follows Rowan Aster if she steps away. Khan's head lifted. Your Majesty, inherited punishment law does not allow a traitor's child to withdraw from a reopened record. Rhevan faced him. Her father has not been proven traitor. He has not been cleared. No, Rowan said. He has only been dead long enough for all of you to become comfortable with the difference. The old wolf lawstone pulsed. Silver witness blood ran from its surface, down into the cracks of the law circle. It reached the carved wolf statues of dead kings, and climbed their paws in thin, shining threads. One by one, the statues turned their stone heads away from the judgment seat. The court recoiled. Rhevan went still. Khan's hand moved toward his blade, then stopped before he could make fear visible. The old scribe whispered, The law witnesses are refusing the seat. Khan snapped. They are reacting to bloodline disturbance. Rowan laughed softly. Everything that refuses you is disturbed. Rhevan did not speak. His eyes stayed on the statues that had watched Velmorn kings judge for centuries and now would not look at him. Rowan felt no triumph, only exhaustion. She had wanted her father's name returned. She had wanted one person to say he had not died dirty. She had not expected truth to feel like standing in a burning house and being asked to admire the light. Rhevan stepped aside, clearing the path from the stone to the outer ring. The movement was small, public, late. He did not offer his hand. That mattered, but not enough. Rowan walked past him. When she reached the edge of the law circle, his voice followed her. I will reopen every punishment tied to your father's verdict. She stopped. The wind pulled at her servant grey skirt. Then she looked back over her shoulder. Do that because the law is rotten, not because you want me to turn around. Rhevan's face changed. I understand. No, she said. You are learning. Understanding costs more. He accepted the cut. The court did not know what to do with a king who let a punished woman correct him. Keandu. He smiled faintly. If she leaves now, Majesty, the nobles will say you let grief command the throne. Rhevan did not look at him. Then the nobles may learn grief has been speaking longer than I have been listening. The old wolf law stone gave a deep sound beneath the circle. Not a growl. A verdict beginning to move. Rowan took another step. The silver stains on her hands brightened. Behind her, every inherited punishment mark carved into the outer ring began to crack. Small names surfaced beneath old convictions. Children of accused houses, widows, maidservants, sons barred from burial rites, daughters forbidden mourning. The court backed away, as if the floor itself had started accusing them. The old scribe fell to his knees. Your Majesty. Rhevan turned toward the stone. Read it. The law stone did not answer him. It bled one line across the judgment seat instead. Old punishment built on false verdict is unstable. Khan's calm broke for half a breath. Rowan saw it. Then the stone bled a second line. The court that punished the daughter must stand in the circle next. The court did not rush to obey the law stone. Power rarely walked willingly into a circle built to judge it. Nobles stared at the silver words bleeding across the judgment seat. Judges lowered their eyes. Old lawkeepers clutched their record chains as if iron could keep history from turning its head. The court that punished the daughter must stand in the circle next. Rowan Aster stood beyond the outer ring with silver witness blood drying on her hands. For the first time in 9 years, she was not kneeling. That should have felt like freedom. Instead, it felt like standing at the edge of a grave, while the men who dug it argued about procedure. General Khan Holt spoke first, calm returning to him like a uniform. The phrase is symbolic. Old law often addresses the court as an institution, not individuals. Rowan looked at him. How convenient. When the court punishes, it has hands. When the court answers, it becomes an idea. A few nobles flinched. Wolf King Rhevan Velmorn stepped toward the center of the Velmorn law circle. Khan turned sharply. Your Majesty? Rhevan did not stop. The carved wolf statues of dead kings remained turned away from the judgment seat. Their stone backs faced him like a verdict no crown could command. Rhevan looked at Rowan once, not asking, not pleading, only making sure she saw the choice he was about to make. Then he stepped into the circle where her father's shame had been polished for years. Silver witness blood ran toward his boots. The law stone pulsed. Rowan felt the court inhale. Rhevan faced them. I signed the inherited punishment order against House Aster. The words struck the winter air. Khan's face hardened. Majesty, public admission before old law may expose the throne to petition claims. It should. The court erupted. Rhevan raised one hand, and the noise died slowly, resentfully. He continued, I kept Rowan Aster in servant grey under a verdict I did not question. I accepted General Khan Holt's testimony because it protected my blood and settled my war. Rowan's throat tightened, not with forgiveness, with the pain of hearing truth years late. She looked away before the court could mistake her stillness for softness. Khan's voice became colder. This is a dangerous performance of remorse. Rowan turned back. No. Performance asks for applause. He is asking the law to cut him. Rhevan's eyes moved to her. Something raw passed through his face. She did not let it reach her. Do not look at me, she said. Look at the record. He did. Good. The old wolf law stone bled a new line across the floor. Signa stands. Command witness must stand. Every gaze turned to Khan. He gave a small, sorrowful smile. I have stood for Velmorn law longer than many of you have lived. I do not fear old stone. Then step in, Rowan said. Khan looked at her. A traitor's daughter does not summon generals. No, she said. The law does. The silver line moved toward him. Khan stepped into the circle. Not defeated. Measured. A man choosing where to plant his feet before the next lie. The moment his boot crossed the old boundary, the lawstone opened every inherited punishment mark around the outer ring. Names rose in silver. Aster, Marrow, Leth, Venna. Children punished for fathers. Widows punished for husbands. Daughters stripped of mourning because grief had been declared politically inconvenient. The court recoiled from its own record. Rhevan's voice was rough. Read them. An old lawkeeper whispered. All of them? All of them. Khan's eyes narrowed. If you reopen inherited punishment, Houses condemned for real treason will use this night to crawl back into power. Rhevan looked at the cracked word where traitor had once held Corvin Aster's name. Then truth will have to survive examination. So will power. Rowan watched him. A second costly act. Still late. Still necessary. The law stone bled again. Inherited punishment built on unread testimony is void until heard. A sound moved through the court. Not quite panic. Not quite grief. Rhevan turned to the lawkeepers. From this moment, no child inherits treason punishment without the original testimony read aloud before old law. Cairn's voice sharpened. You would break a pillar of Velmorn order because one daughter made the stone bleed. Rowan answered before Rhevan could. No, because one father's final sentence was scraped from the page. The old wolf law stone warmed. Silver ran back toward the execution transcript. Then beneath it, where a thin, hidden sheet rose from the record spine. Cairn's calm thinner. Only a little. Enough. Rhevan saw it. What is that? The old scribe bent over the sheet. His hands shook. A witness removal page. Rowan stepped closer despite herself. Not into the circle. Never, because they ordered it. Only close enough to hear what had been buried. The scribe read, Corvin Aster's final statement deemed unstable. Witness reference removed for blood security. Rhevan's jaw tightened. Whose authority? Khan spoke smoothly. Blood security removals were common after the ambush. Rowan stared at him. Common is not innocent. The stone bled across the hidden sheet. Witness removal requested before execution. The court stilled. Before her father tried to speak. Before the blade. Before the court pretended his last words were disorder. Rhevan's face went pale. Someone knew what he would say. The silver blood had moved again, but stopped before finishing the name. The law stone gave one deep pulse. Then it wrote a final command across the hidden page. Daughter of the punished must choose whether the old law reads the buried witness aloud. The command on the hidden page did not ask the Wolf King. It did not ask the general. It did not ask the nobles who had spent 9 years letting Rowan Aster kneel beside her father's shame. It asked the daughter. That frightened the Velmorn law circle more than any accusation had. Rowan stood just outside the old boundary. Silver witness blood dried across her fingers, the winter wind pulling at her servant grey sleeves. The old wolf law stone pulsed once, waiting for her choice. General Khan Holt turned to the court at once. This is improper. Old law cannot be surrendered to personal grief. Rowan looked at him. You were comfortable with personal grief when it belonged to me, and stayed quiet. Cairn's face remained calm. The daughter of the condemned is not neutral. No, Rowan said. I am not. I am what your verdict made. Wolf King Rhevan Velmorn stood inside the circle, silver lines around his boots, his crown no longer making him look above the law. For once, he seemed trapped beneath it. His voice came low. Rowan, the choice is yours. She turned toward him sharply. Do not give me what the stone already did. The line hit him in front of everyone. He accepted it. Good. She stepped closer to the boundary, but not into the circle. Not yet. What happens if I choose? She asked the stone. The carved wolf statues of dead kings answered in a voice that seemed to rise from the winter ground itself. Buried witness speaks. Khan's eyes narrowed. A buried witness is not always truth. Old law preserves fragments. Fragments can wound innocent command. Rowan almost laughed. Inosakuma. The phrase sounded like a polished blade. Rhevan looked at Cairn. You fear a fragment. I fear a kingdom mistaking pain for proof. Rowan looked between them. Pain became proof when it condemned my father. Now you object because it may defend him. The old wolf law stone warmed. A silver path opened from the hidden page to Rowan's feet. Invitation. Not order. That mattered. For 9 years, Velmorn law had told her where to stand, what to wear, how to mourn, when to lower her eyes, and which sentence to repeat over the name Corvin Aster. Now old law waited. Rowan crossed the boundary. The circle changed. Not with fire, not with thunder, with silence. Every noble sound died, every banner stilled. Even the black pines beyond the ring seemed to hold their breath. Rhevan took one step back to give her space. Karn did not. The lawstone growled. Rhevan's voice cut coldly. Move away from her. Cairn smiled faintly. Protective Majesty? Rowan did not look at Rhevan. Too late for that word. Rhevan's face tightened, but he did not deny it. Cairn's expression sharpened. You see, she wants the court to punish you through her sorrow. No, Rowan said. I want the court to hear the sentence my father died trying to finish. She placed both hands on the old wolf lawstone again. This time, no one had ordered her to touch it. This time, she chose. Silver witness blood rose instantly beneath her palms, warmer than before, almost alive. It slid through the cracked word traitor, through witness, through Cairn's name, through the scraped execution transcript and the hidden blood route map. The buried records pulled together. One law, one wound, one unfinished voice. Rhevan watched her, his hands closed at his sides. Rowan, he said quietly, before it reads, I need you to know. No. The word stopped him. Her eyes lifted to his. If you apologize before my father is fully heard, you are still asking my pain to make room for yours. The court went painfully still. Rhevan bowed his head once. Not enough, but honest. You are right, he said. Khan's voice hardened. Then let the record show she refused royal remorse. Rowan turned toward him. Let it show. I refused to comfort the throne before it finished listening. The lawstone pulsed so hard that the silver banners trembled. The hidden witness removal page rose from the record and unfolded in midair. Beneath it, a second layer appeared, not inked, but impressed into the page by pressure marks. Words someone had tried to write without leaving words. The old scribe leaned forward, pale. There is underscript. Rhevan's gaze sharpened. Read it. The scribe swallowed. I cannot. It is not written for court sight. The stone answered. Daughter may read. Rowan's breath caught. Her father had taught her underscript, not because he had expected her to stand in a law circle one day, because he believed daughters should know how men hid things in official pages. Her fingertips moved over the pressure marks. The words rose in her memory before silver formed them on the stone. If my final statement is removed, let the old law hold what my mouth was denied. Karn's face changed. Only a flicker. Enough, Rowan continued, voice steady, though her chest felt split open. Warning delivered to General Cairn Holt before royal blood route alteration. The court inhaled. Warning received. Rhevan went utterly still. Rowan's fingers trembled once. She forced them steady. Command changed after warning. The lawstone bled bright silver. Khan stepped forward. Enough. The carved wolf statues turned their heads toward him. Rowan read the final underscript line. If I am named traitor after this, then the traitor is the man who needed my warning buried. The lawstone cracked open beneath her hands. Not breaking. Opening. A hollow space appeared inside the black rock, filled with silver light. From that light came her father's voice. Not memory. Not rumor. Witness. Cairn Holt received my warning before he moved Rhevan Velmorn's blood route into the ambush. Silver light spilled from the opened wall in layers. Each oath leaf trembled on its moon thread, hundreds of thin records shining behind the altar like a forest of small wounded mirrors. The chapel did not look holy anymore. It looked full of names, full of erased women, full of choices the council had folded away and called peace. Brenna Hale stood before the wall with the moon oath book closed beneath her hand and the silver oath chain coiled across the lunar binding page. No one spoke first. That was rare in Vermor. Silence usually belonged to the powerful here. Now it belonged to the women whose names were waking in the stone. Councilman Thero recovered by reaching for law. Hidden oath archives cannot be released without council review. Brenna did not look at him. You reviewed them into a wall. Lady Serapha Mornell took one careful step forward, her lunar veil still pinned over her dark hair. Brenna, think before you open old wounds. Some women may not want their past read aloud. Brenna turned then. That is the first kind thing you have said today, she said. So I will answer it honestly. No woman's wound will be read for spectacle. Serapha's eyes narrowed. Brenna looked at the moon oath book. Only the law that buried them. The book opened under her palm, not to the lunar page, to a blank judgment page. Silver script formed slowly. Release names only by consent. Release council method by witness right. A sound moved through the noble benches. Not outrage, not relief, but recognition. The women looked at the glowing wall differently now, not as scandal, as evidence that might have been theirs. Alpha King Rhevan Velmorn stepped beside the altar, still leaving distance between himself and Brenna. He had learned not to turn nearness into a claim. By Alpha authority, he said, all proxy seal laws tied to mate, oaths, are suspended. Thero's face darkened. You cannot dismantle oath governance in one ceremony. Rhevan removed the silver crown from his head and placed it on the altar beside the closed lunar veil. I can begin with the law used under my name. The chapel went still. Brenna felt the weight of that act. Not surrender, not romance, public cost. Rhevan faced the benches, the border envoys, the council, Serapha, and the women who had watched Brenna kneel. My seal was used without my voice, he said, but my silence after waking made the lie easier to live with. I accepted the peace it brought because I did not know who paid for it. His gaze moved to Brenna. He did not ask her to soften. The woman who paid was Brenna Hale. The silver oath chain rang once. Truth. Serapha's composure thinned. A king grieving a stolen memory can be manipulated into destroying the very order that protects him. Brenna looked at her veil. You wore that order beautifully. Serapha lifted her chin. I signed witness documents. I did not force his memory from him. The Moon Oath book turned its judgment page. 4 silver lines appeared. Witnessed memory restriction. Accepted replacement lunar petition. Approved public service reassignment. Filed Brenna Hale as oathbound maid. Serapha's face went white beneath the veil. Thero struck his staff. Administrative involvement is not theft. Brenna stepped toward him. The silver oath chain followed, still open. You called love servant attachment. You called consent pressure. You called memory instability. You called my kneeling peace. Her voice stayed low, but every candle leaned toward it. You do not get to choose the small word anymore. The Moon Oath book wrote beneath her sentence. Councilman Thero, oath authority revoked pending moon trial. The moonwood staff split down the center. Not violently. Cleanly. As if the chapel had simply stopped recognizing it. Thero stared at the broken staff in his hands. Serapha reached for the lunar veil. The chain snapped across the altar and pinned the veil before she could remove it. Brenna looked at her. No, you do not take it off privately. Serapha's mouth tightened. You want humiliation. I want accuracy. Brenna touched the veil with 2 fingers. The Moon Oath book wrote across its pale cloth. Replacement petition built on concealed prior oath. The chapel read it. So did the border envoys. Serapha closed her eyes once. When she opened them, the softness was gone. You have your proof. Will you make him yours now, before all of them? Rhevan's jaw tightened, but he did not answer for Brenna. Good. Brenna turned toward him. For 3 years, she had imagined this moment in weaker forms. Him remembering, him choosing, him saying the right words, while the room watched. Now the room watched, and she understood something grief had not let her know before. Being chosen could not heal being erased. Only choice could. She looked at the Moon Oath book. Record this. The pages stilled. Brenna placed her marked thumb beside the silver oath chain. I do not complete the lunar binding tonight. A painful breath moved through Rhevan, but he bowed his head and let it pass through him alone. I do not release the first oath as false, Brenna continued. It was real. It was stolen from both of us, but no stolen oath will become my cage. The Moon Oath book answered in silver. Brenna Hale retains oath right, completion reserved by her consent alone. The silver oath chain rose from the binding page and returned to Brenna's wrist. This time, it did not hover over the scar. It formed a loose bracelet, open at the clasp. Waiting. Respecting. Rhevan looked at it, then at her. I will spend the rest of my reign repairing the law before I ask for anything from your heart. Brenna studied him. The old love was still there. So was the scar. Do not spend your reign asking, she said. Spend it answering. He lowered his head. I will. The chapel candles flared, one by one, not toward the throne, not toward Serapha's veil, but toward the open wall of hidden oaths. Names remained veiled unless their owners chose them, but the method was exposed. The theft had a shape. The silence had witnesses. Brenna walked down the aisle without carrying another woman's chain. At the threshold, she paused and looked back at Rhevan. Walk beside me when you are ready to tell the truth, without needing the book to begin. He did not move until she nodded. Then the Alpha King stepped down from the altar and followed at her side, not ahead, not claiming, not forgiven. Outside, moonlight covered the chapel steps. Behind them, the Moon Oath book closed on its own. Across the cover, silver letters burned bright enough for every pack to remember. Brenna Hale, Oath-bearer, unbound by theft.